We are felt by a sympathetic God. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part number 4 of our 5-part series, looking at the God who is our Father and who is compassionate and passionate towards us. Today we look at sympathy. The idea that one of the evidences that God is who he is that he feels what we feel. But before we look at this amazing sympathy for us, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, pass it on to someone else, at least one person, to encourage them. And then we also want to invite you over to the website at changeministry.org, where there's even an entire prophecy series. You can enjoy that just by clicking that link that you see here on the screen or below in the description. Then we want to invite you to invite us. We'd love to come to your church or your school and share a word. If you're interested, and if that's something God's put on your heart, let us know. Hit us up at our email address. That email address is contact@changeministry.org. A sympathetic God. We've already seen his passion. We've seen his power. But the idea that that power is equaled by how he feels, the degree to which he is able to absorb and to experience what we experience. In Isaiah 63, it says it this way: in all their affliction, he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity, he redeemed them, and he bare them and carried them all the days of old. Please take note of that first part. In all their affliction, he was afflicted. We've been using Israel as a backdrop in this series, and we're looking at the journey from even Egypt to the promised land. And the glory of the verse where it says, in all their afflictions, he was afflicted. It's not just talking about the fact that God sees all. That is him being sovereign above all. It's not just that God knows all. That's the idea of God being omniscient or all-knowing. But the idea that in this all-seeing and in this all-knowing, that he's all-feeling, he's all-experiencing. Well, that's what we see here in Hebrews chapter 4. Speaking of Christ as our high priest, it says, we do not have a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings, the literal feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. So now even here, as we look at Jesus as the Son of God, when he has gone through our experience, this is not just saying that he knows what we've been through. This is saying he's walked our walk, but he's also felt every step of our walk. He felt all of his steps, but he feels my steps too. He is touched with the feeling, not just the fact, of our infirmities. Finally, here in Judges chapter 10, verse 16, when it talks about, again, the people of God, they put away the strange gods from among them, and they served the Lord. And his soul, God's soul, was grieved for the misery of Israel. Here we are, okay? Another picture of him being angry with the idols because the idols are short-circuiting the relationship with his people. So he's angry at the idols, but not in the way that he's angry with his people. In fact, it says here that he knows what they're going through in their rebellion because he's feeling what they may not even be feeling in their rebellion. Well, that means even when we're like the prodigal son, who at one point was enjoying sin, but when the sweetness of sin ran out and the sorrow kicked in, at the same time, the father who was hurting for his son, he wasn't rejoicing when he was rejoicing in the party. He was hurting just as much when his son was in the party as much as when his son was eating with pigs. The whole time the father has sorrow that the son hadn't even felt yet. In the same way, when we become numb, when we even get to the point of getting to even being reprobate towards our sin, God still feels the burn. He still feels the pain of being separated from the very ones that he loves. That's the sign of a God with anxiety to reach those and to run to those and to redeem us when we turn from him. I'm so glad that we got a God who feels, because if God can feel the frustration of our sin, could you imagine then how he feels about us and the joy when we stop running from and we run to him?